So I've been in college for about 2 weeks now, and I've been using the iPad Pro for a lot of my school-oriented tasks, specifically handwriting notes and accessing files for my courses. And I recently got the Tab S6 for a full review and to compare with the iPad Pro. And today I thought I would see how it stacks up to it in regard to school-oriented tasks here. But before we continue, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, as the algorithm likes that and will help push my videos to more people. So without further ado, let me demo some school-oriented tasks with both these devices to help you decide which one is right for you. Alright, so first up, let's talk file management with both these devices. With the iPad Pro, we have the Files app, and with the Tab S6, we have the Samsung My Files app. They serve the same purpose, however, they are different in many ways. We do have a sidebar here so you can navigate to different folders and areas of your files or your device. But as you can see here, you got a lot more going on here with the Samsung app here. You can go into your internal storage and go through a bunch of folders like you would on like a Windows device. Whereas with Apple, it's a little more locked down. You know, most of the folders are app-based and you can't really go into like system files and whatever. You also have the ability to insert a micro SD card, so that is expansion for you there. With the iPad Pro, as we know, the storage that you get inside is what you get. But yeah, both of these apps serve the same purpose. You can access downloads, documents, other app folders, you can organize files, and you can browse external storage connected via USB Type-C. Next up, let's talk document typing or writing. I don't have keyboard cases for either of these devices. That's just not how I use my tablets. So we're going to focus more on the virtual keyboard aspect of these devices here. So let's go into my app of choice, Google Docs here, which I use on a daily basis to plan content and to write stuff down. Let's go into my Note 10 shot list here. So as you can see, they load up very similarly. Obviously, you have more of a paper size here with the iPad Pro. It's more like a sheet of paper in terms of the aspect ratio, but you still get a nice view here, 16:9 with the Tab S6. Let's go and edit them here. And then again, you have a more narrow view here, especially with the keyboard, whereas you have more of a wide aspect here with the iPad Pro. Both typing experiences are nice. You have swiping ability with the Tab S6 here, whereas you don't get that by default with this big keyboard. However, if you swipe in, then you get that with the iPad Pro running iOS 13. In terms of the typing experience, at least in Google Docs, and I would say Word and any other apps that are available for both iPadOS and Android, the experience is going to be the same. However, with the keyboards here, I find that the iPad Pro screen accommodates a better typing experience, at least virtually, as you have more screen space above the keyboard and just more space for the keyboard in general. The keys are going to be a little bit bigger, so I find myself feeling a little bit more comfortable typing on this versus this, which has more narrow keys, but you can definitely have a good typing experience here. It's just a little bit more narrow, as I said, so not too much different once again in terms of virtual typing experience. Next up, let's talk note-taking, and this is the primary use I have for my personal iPad Pro here. I bring this to college every day, and using the Apple Pencil with GoodNotes 5 has been an incredibly positive experience here. And the Tab S6 here is a direct competitor to the iPad Pro and is sold with Samsung's S Pen, which attaches to the back, as we know here. So let's talk about the software available. So I use GoodNotes 5 for my personal note-taking. However, the Apple Notes app is pretty decent for some rudimentary note-taking as well. With the Tab S6 here, obviously you have Samsung Notes, so we can open that up here, and this can take advantage of the S Pen and all of its glories. So let's just make a new note here. So I'll write here, hello, my name is Noah, and as you can maybe hear, you get that kind of cheesy little like pen sound effect. It's kind of fun, I think. You also have the ability to draw some like artwork type stuff in here, so you can have different tools and paint brushes, pencils, whatever you want here, kind of similar to what you get with the iPad Pro, as I'll demo here in a minute. But yeah, the Notes app, or at least the Samsung Notes app, will do the trick if you're taking some, you know, basic notes, or if you want to sketch something out, let's just say. And the S Pen, in my experience, is all right. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's bigger than the Note 10's S Pen, which makes it a lot more comfortable to use, especially for long durations. And kind of moving over to the iPad Pro here, obviously, once again, you have the ability to take notes with the pen. You have the ability to, you know, highlight and also sketch with a pencil here, so you kind of get that with pressure sensitivity. I'm just going to tell you objectively, the Apple Pencil is just more comfortable. It's round, it's bigger, it's more like an actual pen or pencil, you know. And people were asking me, does your hand cramp when you write with this? If you're not writing for an insane amount of time, no, it's actually really comfortable. The flatter design of the S Pen here is just not near nearly as comfortable. I do find my hand cramping just a little bit if I use this for too long. So in terms of comfortability, I have to give it to the iPad Pro here objectively. And it just makes sense because the Apple Pencil is just a more comfortable shape that will more naturally conform to your hand or your fingers. And then in terms of third-party note-taking apps, you do have some common ones like Evernote and Microsoft OneNote. However, I use GoodNotes 5, and I was trying to look for an alternative on the Play Store. And the best one I could find was this app called Squid. Maybe there's a better one, so leave me a comment if there's another one you think I should check out and demo. But this one's pretty decent. I mean, you get lined paper. You can use the S Pen, obviously, to write notes. You can erase and highlight and select just like you can in GoodNotes here. Here are some of my notes. I've demoed this in a previous video, so we can go to my critical thinking class here. But yeah, here are some of my notes. And usually what I do is I zoom in. I just, start taking notes, in cursive. So, and then of course you have all your little highlighting options here. And you can select text and move it around just like you can with this app here. Let's just demo that really quick. So I can write, note, underline, and then we can go to the select tool and then move it around, maybe resize it or whatever, change the color, change the opacity or the darkness level, have a custom color. This is actually something I don't think you can do with GoodNotes 5, so that's pretty cool. And here we have an app that is available cross-platform, Evernote. It's a little bit different, and I'm actually trying to figure out how to use this. But I mean, you can have templates, right? So you can choose pre-planned documents for an event budget or a gift tracker. So you have that. You can also handwrite notes as well. So let's create a new note on both these devices for handwriting. So we can do handwriting, and then we can choose the handwriting option here on iOS or iPadOS. It's a little bit different from my experience. Maybe I'm using the app wrong, let me know. But, obviously you can, write some notes in here and, jot some stuff down. Whereas with the Tab S6, it's a pretty similar experience. The same tools are available. Select. It just looks a little bit different interface-wise, but, you can still write here. And that just kind of brings to my attention, while the Tab S6 does offer a nice writing experience with an integrated stylus that actually comes with the tablet, you don't have to buy it extra. The 120 hertz display with the iPad Pro, the low latency, the comfortability of the stylus here, which is the Apple Pencil, I don't know. I just think that the writing experience is higher quality with the iPad Pro. And it kind of makes sense because you're paying more for the stylus too. And of course, once again, we have that really high refresh rate display. And also the tip of these pens are different. This is more rough. It kind of has more drag. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. With the Apple Pencil here, you can get screen protectors, which can give you the drag quality of writing on paper. But me personally, I like it really having a very smooth, almost gliding experience, and it's plastic on plastic, so you just really do fly across the screen. That's just my opinion. But in terms of the overall functionality of the apps here, they're basically the same. So I gotta say, at least in this category, in my humble opinion, I do believe the iPad Pro does offer a better handwriting experience. So if you're into taking handwritten notes, the apps available and the stylus available, it's just more convenient, more comfortable, and more smooth. It also has a better attaching mechanism. This is a much better spot in my opinion than having it on the back. It also clicks better. This is just kind of okay, I guess. While it is a decent design, and I'm happy that Samsung did differentiate itself from Apple, I do like the mechanism better with the iPad Pro personally. However, you do have the ability to have the pen on the back and have your Tab S6 slightly elevated with no rocking, which is a positive thing, I will say. However, I do like the placement of the Apple Pencil more with the iPad Pro. Last up, let's talk about multitasking, and this is where things get interesting because the Tab S6 has something that the iPad Pro does not, and that is a designated desktop mode. But we're first going to talk about the tablet modes here and just the standard iPadOS experience here with the iPad Pro. With iPadOS, you can open an app, and then you can, swipe up with the dock, and then drag over another app, and boom, you're already doing that. You also have the ability to, toggle these, fanned out apps here by dragging them into the window. So we can, drag, I don't know, another instance of Safari here, and then, dismiss them, switch in between them, put them on different sides, obviously fan them out as I showed you. And also resize the full screen apps here so we can, make more room for Safari and more room for GoodNotes or vice versa. With the Tab S6, we can, open an app and then also drag in from the side and drag in, an app here, and it will pop up as a window. I don't know if I'm not doing this right, so, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can also make this go full screen. And then just like iPad OS, we can resize the windows here. But once again, you can have apps where you can drag around in its own window, which I really like, especially with the pen here, which allows you to, use it kind of like a cursor. So we can set this down here, and I can, have this hovering around here, bring it into full screen or dismiss, and once again resize. So yeah, both these devices are good if you're taking notes and referencing some kind of article or doing some research and maybe watching a video at the same time here. But let me demo really quick the Samsung Dex mode here, which is something you cannot get once again with the iPad experience. So we're gonna launch into this. And I really like this. I wish one day Apple will have some kind of macOS-esque experience on the iPad. But for now, this is what Samsung has to offer. It looks a lot like Windows, kind of like a hybrid of Windows and Android. But I really like it. You kind of have this start menu looking thing here. You have the app switcher, you have the app drawer. And I just think this setup just looks a lot better than the actual OS or One UI on the tablet. So you can open up, Docs here and have a window. You can open up the Samsung Notes app. You can open up another note-taking app and YouTube and have all these, windows popping around here. I haven't figured out how to snap them, but you can, obviously manually resize them and have more than one app open at the same time here, which is pretty convenient, I think. And once again, it's made really easy with this fine point of input that is the S Pen. So I really do enjoy this experience. Maybe you will too if you're really big on multitasking and you like to have more of a desktop-like experience. You also have the ability, once again, with both these devices to connect a keyboard case, and I think the Tab S6 definitely benefits from that, although I haven't bought one because, once again, I like to use my tablet more like a tablet. I have a laptop for a reason. But yeah, I really do enjoy the Dex experience with the Tab S6 here. I think it takes advantage of the display much better than One UI does, and the multitasking experience is actually really nice with this windowed mode here. But once again, the iPad OS experience is nothing to scoff at. It's actually very, very useful. It's come a long way, once again, with this fanned out mode and the ability to, just drag apps in and to drag files to and from Windows and to have this split screen mode. And with the wider aspect ratio, once again, you get just more, vertical room, at least in landscape mode, and more horizontal mode and portrait mode, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I do like the aspect ratio for multitasking a little bit better with the iPad Pro, and I find it to be a little bit more smooth with iPadOS. However, as I've said, the Dex mode with the Tab S6 and the ability to just have free-floating windows in either the One UI mode or the Dex mode is just really cool, and is a feature I wish iPad had for sure. And that about wraps things up here. I really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and subscribe for more content like this. Wait for my full comparison between the Tab S6 and the iPad Pro, as well as some iPhone 11 content coming up, and a full review of the Tab S6 as well. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.